Hello everyone and welcome to my video on how to actually make a Antistasi map port extension. So the first thing that you're going to want to do before I start up is download this Antistasi porting kit, their Antistasi Ultimate Extender Kit, and if you don't already have Visual Studio Code, um, actually, I'm going to pull that up so I can copy the link and put it in the description. So those are the things that you're going to need. These are debug commands that we'll be using later, and this is a general porting guide from Antistasi community. I'll have the links for everything in the description. Um, Now I'm going to just say a fair warning. I am relatively new to map extensions. Um, I have done these maps here. There's a pack of 2 in this one. There's Sanagasta. These 2 are exactly the same, so I'm just going to count it as 1. And then that's Baztec, my most recent one. In this example, I'm going to be trying to do Australia as my next map. And I'm going to use it as an example for you all on how to actually port it yourself. So first thing that you want to do actually is before you even start messing around with files is just get a mod list together along with the map that you think that you want to port. I have a very basic mod list with Zeus Enhanced, Eden Enhanced, and Enhanced Map. These are just useful mods that I can use. And then here's Antistasi Ultimate that you just want to keep preloaded just in case. Anything else that you want to put on, you can keep. Grab the map that you think that you want to port, and the first thing that you want to do is actually load into the game and make sure that it is actually feasible or suitable for Antistasi Ultimate. So just wait for this to load up. Okay, so once you've loaded into the game, you want to open up your map in the Eden editor. And what really makes a map suitable is having it populated across the entire map. What I mean by populated is having roads, towns, or cities, tons of little resources and power stations and random stuff all over the map that you could theoretically use to build your map. Now, I understand in this central bit of the Australia map, it is pretty empty. Like, look at how empty this is. It's going to be pretty difficult to populate. However, on the coastal parts of the whole map, it is pretty populated. Here is the island south of, I think, Melbourne. Over here, I think, is Melbourne. There it is. Yep. So it's a big city, populated pretty well. There's an airbase right here. You know, there's clearly roads placed all across it. And this is why I like Enhanced Map, because it allows me to see these roads and whatnot with ease. So this is a suitable map. What makes a not suitable map is roads that are not connecting between towns. Towns straight up don't work. So for example, the 3AS terrains don't have any towns. Most of them don't have any towns at all on them, meaning that your Antistasi Ultimate will be pretty tough to play because the whole thing revolves around towns and support levels and stuff like that, and not having any towns will kind of break it. And you cannot create custom towns. Antistasi Ultimate takes towns directly ported out of the map or locations, like so. Custom locations don't work, and town generators don't work. I've tried both of them, so you have to pick and choose a map that has these locations already baked directly into the terrain, unless you want to go and edit the terrain, which is another hassle that I have no idea how you would even do. So I found myself a map that works pretty well. The first thing that we're going to be doing is working on a grid map. And what a grid map is essentially your convoys or your roads that basically allow the AI to drive on the roads correctly, and convoys to like snap to waypoints. Now, these maps should already have grid maps on them. However, Antistasi Ultimate has or Antistasi itself, I should say, has its own little AI system and its own little convoy system, and their way of doing convoys is essentially using like paths on the road, and then they'll go and grab those paths as position markers, and then they'll use those position markers for waypoints so that they can actually drive around. I think it's called a nav grid, not a grid map, but anyway. So first thing we're going to do is on your desktop or wherever you downloaded it, you want to open up the zip file of A3U extender master. Mine is named zip1 or 1zip, and that's just for me so that I don't get confused with having a million of these all around. So you're going to unzip it, put it on your desktop or something like that. And the first thing that you're going to do is, in fact, actually, the first thing that we're going to do is get Street Artist, open this up in here, select everything and copy that to your clipboard. And then in game, you're going to want to place down a guy with a map. So like a rifleman or someone that has a map so you can actually see, and a game master module just in case if you want to fly around in Zeus and check out points of the map. I'm going to type in admin logs. That's just an easy way of doing it. Or you can do, a whole variable name and whatnot. I'm not going to even attempt that. So I loaded in. The map loads up. That's good. You don't need to do that. I was just making sure. We're going to save this as I am on the wrong profile. I just noticed. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm on the right profile now. I'm going to save this as I made a custom folder for all of my Antistasi Ultimate extenders, so I can find this in my MP missions if I ever need to. I'm gonna name this Australia, just for now. We're now going to open the scenario folder and paste those files that we copied to our clipboard earlier. And what this will also do is tell us the actual mission cycle name. And this is really useful. It's really important, actually, so that whenever we actually go to our desktop master, and whenever we install this, which we're going to do in just one moment, we're going to put in the mission cycle name there. And basically, it'll just be really important for keeping it simple across the board of anything that is Altus or mission cycle related will be the same name. So I'm actually going to do that right now. I'm going to open with Visual Studio Code. Okay. This should automatically be managed, but if it doesn't, you can go up here. It should show manage, and then click on it and say trust. I'm going to open this up. Here it is. We're going to name it Australia, which is the name that we got from here. Australia, Australia. And it says a couple rules here, containing only characters A to Z and 0 to 9, and only lowercase letters. So I wouldn't even involve numbers, honestly. It's not even really that important, unless it specifically says. So this install.ps1 is now deleted. We can open up our extender, and now it's changed to build, and our A3UE extender file has changed to Australia. We can double click on this, add-ons. Here, everything is for your stuff. The only thing what we're really going to be working in is maps. Everything else you can kind of leave. In fact, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to delete. Actually, I don't quote me, and I don't actually know this for a fact, but all of my other maps, I've deleted these 4 files and kept core, which you don't touch at all, and then you have maps, which is the only stuff that you're going to be touching, but I don't know that for sure. So we've already went into tools, we've already went into Street Artist, we've already copied all of this. This is set up, ready to go, so we're going to minus this out and make sure that our scenario folder has all of our stuff. It does. We're going to save again with Control S, or you can go up here and hit save. And then we're going to load in real quick. And what this is Street Artist, which basically helps you take a map visualization of your map and convert it into the waypoints that the nav grid needs. Now, you can do different options. I'm not going to import existing. I'm going to generate You can start fresh from an empty grid. I have done that previously for all of my other maps because having to go and search through and make sure that everything is working correctly is a kind of a pain. However, this is a 40 by 40 map. It's going to take me 8 million years to go and draw the grid from scratch. So I'm going to generate it and see how long it takes. Now I might show a couple errors here because I'm pretty sure this is an old street. Pretty sure this is an older street view or street artist. And then in the top right, you can see the notification icon like normal Antistasi Ultimate, where it shows your completion and all the amount of nodes, which are there. How many did that say? Oh, there's 9,000 nodes, but there was like 30,000 something. I forgot. I don't know what that read, but yeah. There's done drawing lines, and here's your whole map. So we're going to wait for this error to go away, and then I'll continue. So I've just regenerated the grid map, and over here are your controls. You can hit F to swap between radiuses. You can hit C to change the connection type. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure, what's it called? Green are highways, orange are dirt roads, and yellow are paved roads. These are kind of important because the AI will prioritize highways over dirt roads. So continuing what we were doing before, you can hit left Alt to delete stuff. So yeah, this is an island. It looks pretty suitable here. I'm just going to make sure that these waypoints are good. They all do look pretty good. I think I'm in the water. Yeah, I am. We're just going to ignore that. I don't know what these are, but they look interesting. Sometimes it'll take you to it, like it did there. This is a warehouse of some sort. We're going to go back to this racetrack and delete this racetrack again. And yeah, so this is going to be most of your time is just making sure that you don't have a million different islands. So this Australia map should all just be Island 0 or Island number 1. There shouldn't be all these other purple islands everywhere. So I'm going to go through and make sure that they all get deleted. Sometimes they are just little rogue roads on their own. So like over here, let's see. Oh, this is just a road leading into a parking way. I don't see any reason for the AI driving down there. Same thing over here. What is this? This is another warehouse. I don't see a reason for the AI driving down there, so I'm going to delete all of that. I'm going to come back to that because those are bridges. Not going to worry about that. What is this down here? Oh, there's some random stuff. What is this? Another parking lot. I don't see the AI ever going down there. What the hell? Why are there so many? Let's do this. I don't know why those are all blue. They shouldn't all be blue like that. Not sure why those are all blue. I might come back to that one and check it out later. What is this? Oh, this is, I think, yeah, this is a pier of some sort. We can just delete that, not important. So yeah, this is just, this might be a bridge actually. Yeah, this is a bridge. All right, we're gonna do this bridge first real quick and explain to you how the bridges work. Ah, this is not actually quite a bridge. Okay. Okay, so bridges are quite a bit different. Okay. Arma 3 AI struggle to drive on bridges in general. In general, even scripted driving and even like AI like this. How do we combat that? By making a waypoint of every part of the bridge. Now, normally it should snap. So this isn't a real bridge. This is cut off. However, this end here is a real bridge. So we're gonna hold left shift, or we're gonna click on the starting point, hold left shift, and we're going to snap to every part of the bridge that it allows us to snap to. It's not snapping all the way out here, so I'm just going to drag it across over to there. This bridge could be working. Is this a bridge? Yeah, this bridge should not be working because like that. So we're gonna snap, snap, snap. Oh, those are underneath. What the hell? Those should be up. I don't know why it's snapping like that. I'm gonna snap it upwards like that because I believe that will actually work. See how this is above, this is above. Anyway, not sure why that wasn't working. I'm gonna leave you here for a little while I get all of my stuff done. Alright, another thing that you're gonna want to make out for, and I've just noticed on this map, unfortunately, you see what I just deleted there? That was a road that was trying to drive through a building. There's a building here. There was a road here, and what probably happened was this road continued underneath this building and probably went somewhere over here to connect in some way. And these custom buildings are cool, however, they're a lot of the time placed on top of roads to make sure that this is correctly like that. There's also a lot of these driveways. I'm going to delete these driveways because they almost always confuse AI when they're trying to drive across them. And here's another racetrack. So just continue on what you were doing before, just letting that be known. Now it is also important to go and delete things that you believe that aren't going to be used. So these crosswalks here, for whatever reason, are being counted as roads. I don't think the AI should be driving down here at all, even if there was an objective down here. So I'm going to just straight up remove all of this. And another thing that you can do is you can go into your area select tool and delete through your area select tool. Or I'm sorry, your larger like surface area tool. So I'm going to delete all of this because I really don't think the AI should be driving down here, even if that's an objective area. Another thing I want you to think about while you're doing this is think of objective areas, like I said just before. Any areas like this down here, where you believe could be rather interesting. Just make a mental note of it, that could be an objective area. Support base, this could easily be a military base here. Obviously the airports are self-explanatory, however, other places, like random radar stations, or maybe not even a military related, like a solar panel place, or generator rooms, like stuff like that that you could theoretically be used in a military base or resources. Another thing is, there's gonna be these areas, like this map here. If I teleport here, there's nothing on this island. It's just palm trees and sand. I'm going to remove all of these waypoints because I know that there's nothing going to be over there. Same thing with over here. If there was roads on this, I would straight up remove it because there's not going to be objectives on there. However, if you think you're going to add custom objectives, then obviously go ahead and leave those roads there. I just think that it causes a little bit more confusion for the AI if there's tons of these like places. Even though that this is technically a separate island, AI are never going to spawn over here unless you have some sort of external extender or system that's going on there. Sometimes you'll find areas like this where you may or may not give it a little bit of thought. So originally I saw this. This appears to be a dirt ring road around this airbase. Originally I thought, hey, there's some room here. I can connect up the main road to this dirt road, like so. However, if you give it a little bit of thought, the AI could get stuck on this ring road driving around in circles. Well, there is a suitable road here. So if you know that you're going to build your airbase encompassing all of this area, maybe you don't want to have your road right up inside the airbase where they can get caught up and stuff. Also, look there, a little bit of investigation. That building right there is jutting out onto this road. There's a little bit of detail that I would say. Now, also, I may be talking a little bit too much. You could be relax on it. I'm just trying to let it be known that there are those possibilities, and the whole reason why I'm letting that be known is because I've run into those issues where I've ignored it, and then when someone went and played it, they discovered it doesn't really work out too well. Alright, so I've come back to this mess hole that is over here. Yep, this is exactly what I expected. So, let's go into Zeus and look at this one from a sky eye perspective. Please don't crash. Please don't crash. Okay, sometimes it can, in fact, crash. Holy crap, I'm only realizing how big this map is. Holy crap, this map is a lot bigger than I thought. Okay, so, look at this. This is a really cool custom little highway scene that they have going here. However, if we take a look at this in detail, there's multiple roads stacked up here. We can ignore these. This is a floating road. We can ignore these. So this whole left, or however you want to say it, left or right side of this highway, this point of the bridge straight up doesn't exist. So we can go into our map view and just delete everything that is on this side of the road. Now, unfortunately, if you look down here, this part of the road starts, but then abruptly ends right here. We're going to remove all the way to this point here, because there's no reason for the AI to be driving on that bit of road if they're just going to come to an end and get stuck. So we're going to remove all of it. We're going to remove everything on this side of the road, including these weird stacked up road bits like that. What in the heck is that? I don't know what that is, but it's a weird part of the thing. There you go. So I've immediately cleaned that up, and I believe now, actually, I have Island 0, which is the mainland, and Island 1, which is this section down here that I'm probably going to put up a couple of points and whatnot around. I don't know what this is. Oh, it's a hospital. That's interesting. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So here you have your grid map. And remember to make periodic saves. How do you make saves? You hit Control S, and it will save. Uh-oh. Hang on one second. Let me figure this one out. All right, I have no idea what that error is, but the export is still working, so I'm just going to continue on like nothing happened, and then figure out why it's broken at the very end. So, once you've hit Control S, it should copy everything to your clipboard. Don't exit out of that yet. We're going to go to our A3U extender master that we set up earlier, Australia. Go to add-ons, go to maps, we can delete this map 1 because we're not doing 2 maps. Go to altus underscore blah blah blah, that first one. Go to navgrid.sqf, double click on that, opening it in Visual Code Studio, delete everything that's in there, and paste in your new grid map. That was 1,400 lines long. Holy crap. Alright, hitting Control S to get again to save this. We're going to X out of that. That is your nav grid done. And in my opinion, the most grueling part of the entire part of Antistasi Ultimate Map Portings. So, I'm going to do a little bit of stuff next here, which is rather really important, and that is changing everything from Altus to Australia. So we're going to rename this to the mission cycle name, which is Australia, or whatever your one is. Oh, forgot to rename Altus. You have to leave it in this format, Antistasi underscore Australia dot the name of the mission file or the world name. Everything else in here, we're going to have to change whatever is Altus related. So if we go in here, this has Altus in it. We're going to change all occurrences from Altus to Australia. We can come back and fix all of that. We're just going to quickly go through and make sure that everything is Australia. Navgrid.hpp. See, Altus, we're going to change all occurrences to Australia. Oopsies, I forgot to remove the A on that, so we're going to remove the A on that. Mapinfo.hpp. We can delete this extra altus in here because we're not using it, and then we're going to go in here and change all occurrences to Australia. Save, back out, config. I don't think there's anything in. Oh, yes, there is. We're going to remove this class name. This basically allows you to select the mission type. We're going to go in here, Altus, change all occurrences to Altus Australia, save, back out. Go to mission description. I don't know if there's anything in here. Let me just quickly make sure and check. I don't see anything of note so far. I do not think that there is anything in here that we're gonna need to check. This is all debug stuff. Yeah, all right. So we're not gonna need to go through here and check, but we are gonna go through in mission description.exe, and go to Altus and change all occurrences to Australia. Save that. Map info. We're gonna choose this one. We're gonna actually come back to because I have a custom map info from Surreal, which I highly recommend using Surreal's map info thing because his is just straight up better than the default thing that's here. So I'm just going to yoink it from one of my previous maps, which is buildobjects.list.hpp. I'm going to copy that over and just throw that in this portion where your mission description and Australia Altus file is. And then when you go into this one real quick, you can ignore most of this and grab the map info.hpp and throw it in here. That is the wrong thing. Can I undo that? Well, I fucked up. Give me one moment. Alright, with that fixed, we're going to do this properly and grab map info.hpp. I recommend you being a little bit more careful than me. We're going to replace this one, because there's two different map infos. Replace this one. Change the class name to what it's supposed to be. Yours is going to be Altus. Mine's going to be Australia, like so. The reason why I like to use this is because Surreal made a lot better map info using the buildable objects and stuff like that. So we're gonna come back to this, and we're gonna come back to all of this. So once you've finished your nav grid, which is this right here, the next thing that we're gonna come and do is actually build our Antistasi map, which is the fun part. Hooray! So making sure that we've already done this, we're gonna back out. We're going to go to the mission file. Open mission folder. Oh, there it is over here. Delete everything except for the SQM because we're not going to need any of that anymore. And we're going to delete that. And then we're going to hit save. So now we're back to the bare bones map. And we're going to go and get the Antistasi porting kit, which is this right here. Again, this should be in the description. If not, then I'm not a great tutorial person. Find a nice flat spot. Here it is here. Throw down the porting kit. I'm losing my voice here, but this will have all the different markers for your map. Holy fuck, I'm realizing how big this map is every single time. This here will have air bases, outposts, seaports, factories, and resources. For military administrations, banks, and for military administrations, banks, and radio towers, those will be in what's it called? Those will be in position grid. For military bases, those will be custom placed in. I'm going to have to show you guys how to do that whenever I'm done with this. Okay, so there's a lot to go over here, but really, everything is going to be operating through these markers. These markers will go away at the end of your mission. And note this point right here on your airport, outpost, factory, whatever it is, this little dot right here is where the flag will spawn and where the crates will spawn around. So I think the crates are about 5-meter radius, so you really don't want this being inside of a building or a wall or anything like that, because the flag will spawn inside of it, and your crates will spawn inside of it, and most often your crates will blow up immediately. For these other points here, This spawn point is where convoys will spawn from. These are all self-explanatory. Helipad, hangars, just mark your hangars. So if I fly in here and look at what my hangars are, these are hangars. So I'm just going to make a giant square around this. And you can copy and paste this as many times over as you may need. Boom, hangars placed. Doesn't seem like I have any helipads down, so I'm just going to go over here and make some fake helipads. Those all look relatively separated. Boom, 3 helipads. What do we want to do? Helipad. Let's leave this one simple. So, if you've ever used the Eden editor before, it's the same stuff as your normal Eden editor. You're just going through, placing stuff down. There's your helipads. That's your airport. Let's see here. This is plane spawns. Plane spawns are important. What they do is basically spawn planes outside of hangars. So, let's see here. I don't know. This looks like a fueling point for planes. Boom. 2 plane spawns right here. They're somewhat close to where they're supposed to be. Oh, that's another thing. You want to make sure that these are rotated the right direction. If you're placing custom hangars down or custom things down, make sure that they're rotated the right direction, or else they'll spawn backwards. Or sideways or whatever. So this part's going to go vastly unedited because I just want to show you the process that goes into it. These helipads can get rotated like so. I think they should all be rotated the same direction. If they're not, then okay. Who am I to say? There we go. Rotated all directions. Planes are done. Hangars are done. What are these 2 things over here, you may ask? Mortars and vehicles. Vehicles are self-explanatory. Just go and place them down where you think that they are necessary. Let's see here. This is a very civilian-looking airport, so look at that. Most of these are probably civilian airports, so we're gonna keep that out of there. Actually, maybe put it over here. This seems somewhat adequate. This seems somewhat normal. Mortars, while not required, I like to add them because they make the airport feel more difficult to take. So you can place them wherever you want. I'm gonna leave that there, and no, we're gonna actually leave that a little bit closer to the vehicles. Mortar there, and maybe a mortar. Definitely want 2 mortars down. Maybe a mortar over here. Just leave a little bit of thought into it. Now, this airbase looks really easy to take over. Why, you may ask? It's not really protected at all. And the easiest way of protecting it is throwing towers down. Most people hate towers. I know the people hate towers. I've gotten it a million times over again. However, they make it so much easier to protect. And damn near every single map has towers in it. So just get used to it, random people. I'm putting towers down. If you don't want to put towers down, that's completely fine. I'm putting towers down. Maybe we should put the mortar in the middle. I'm gonna put this mortar in the middle. See what that looks like. Maybe this middle over here. We can just put this tower down here, and maybe this tower over here. Now you want to make sure that these towers are actually within the range, because that is essentially the spawn range of the airport. Now I don't want it to be too close because it'll be kind of unrealistic if this tower is well in the way of the wings, because if the tower was here, technically the planes don't take off. However, it'd look really strange if the tower's right in the middle. So I don't know, I might just place this tower here. There you go, 4 towers down. That'll make it a little bit harder to take this point. I actually don't like where this one is. I'm going to set it here, maybe. I also don't like that position. We're going to actually replace the 3rd one with this one. Or the 4th one with the 3rd one. There you go, 3 towers down. Makes it easy. Anyway, that's an airbase example. I'm going to place the air bases first because I feel like those are really important and they're going to be really the easiest ones. But now you sort of get a gist of how to correct place everything. So honestly, this is it for a little while. I'll come back to some of these specialty things later. However, I'm going to now leave you to building this whole map. All right, so I'm back about 3 weeks later. Probably. So let me pause this real quick and open this up. Alrighty, so we're back with the map mostly completed with all of the things that I want to go down. I'm going to quickly just go over some of the things that I think I should be mentioning. One of the other things that I put on this airbase example was a wall around the outside. Now, if you see, I have this set to, I'm pretty sure I have this set to dynamic simulation, which means that while these are technically static objects, they won't be simulated 24/7, which should save on performance because so far the mission file is, I think, 1 megabyte, which is pretty damn big for an Antistasi extender. But anyway, and then when the players come up close, they can place down C4 and blow up the walls if they ever want to. What else? I put down a large area, and I recommend putting down some more buildings because what I was showing you earlier was that some of the bases are quite empty, and things like this HQ tower or the base game cargo HQ building are capable of spawning AA emplacements on these, which are nice. But yeah, I like to add in a couple more buildings and pieces of like infrastructure in here because it was really empty and I could easily understand how boring it would get. So that's just one airbase. Here's a second airbase, for example. Can kind of get the idea across. I'm going to have to come back because these hangars, large hangars like this, and I think the Livonia one, don't actually count as hangars. They are counted as buildings. So if you want if you want planes to spawn in these, you're gonna have to delete these hangar things and have planes spawn inside using the plane spawner, which is not that big of a deal. So those are airbase examples. Military base examples, we'll go up to that real quick. So military bases aren't in that composition that I shared earlier because that composition was from Antistasi like community, and we're porting for Antistasi Ultimate. So for military base, you're going to want to create a rectangle. You can set to any color, make sure it's solid. I recommend pink just so that it's registered and it's separated out a lot easier. And then rename the variable name to mil_base_1 and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many you want. And then for the individual zones, it'll be milb, so MILB_1_ helipad or vehicle or mortar or whatever else you want it to be. And then you can copy those around and reuse those for all of your military bases. Let's do seaport real quick. So seaport is pretty simple. Again, same thing as the military bases and air bases. This marker here is where your flag location will be. vehicles, mortars sometimes even if you want. And if you want a C spawn, you're going to be placing down these things called objective C spawns. You don't have to place this down manually. You can go and grab it from the original composition and copy and paste. However, that marker has to be inside of this blue square of the seaport. That way it'll actually spawn in. If it was outside, like over here, outside that blue square, it wouldn't spawn in to save on performance. As for, which I don't have one there, as for these sea patrols, now I'm going to be entirely honest, I don't know how these work, but from what I've seen, they seem to be sort of like waypoint markers. So if you had a boat that spawned in over here, the boat can go and patrol to these nearby sea markers that are in the water, and then they can drive around in circles around those areas. Another thing is, some maps may not have enough points of interest to be suitable for an Antistasi, and that's completely fine. I wanted to put in more resources because I was running out of places to put resources. So I started building farms and stuff. Normally factories will be factory buildings. Resources will be something like quarries or fuel deposits or a fuel storage or something like that, something that is literally a resource. I like doing farms. Farms or agricultural areas are good resource objectives. Just tons and tons of different ideas. Here's a really interesting one that people will probably discover, but it is an outpost. Now, albeit this outpost isn't the literal bumfuck nowhere, so I wanted it to be unique. So I put it underneath a cool rock cave sort of thing. I don't know how it will work out, and I don't know how the AI will react, but we'll see that in game. Outposts, as I'll go back to this, are relatively self-explanatory, the same sort of thing. Grab the outpost module, grab the things that you want, delete the things you don't want out of that composition. So the composition kind of shows everything else. These sea attack spawns, pretty sure Antistasi Ultimate does not have naval invasion QRFs enabled in their mod. However, if you find an extender, which there are, I think there's one extender that re-enables the naval attack system, or if Antistasi Ultimate ever does decide to add the naval attack system back into the game, your map already will have these sea attack spawn locations available so that they can spawn in and go and do a naval invasion. I remember a long time ago that they used to have them, and people would set these points all the way at the corner of the map, and it would take them 8 million years. So I recommend, like, honestly, at most 3 kilometers out, because if we select that, the players are going to have difficulty seeing that. Like they're going to spawn in, and they should still be able to make it. However, some instances I may want to actually set them a little bit closer. It's honestly up to personal preference. Another thing that I will say about those, though, you don't want to set them outside the map. You saw there, this one was just outside the map, and this one there. If you set them directly outside the map, the AI won't spawn, and it'll cause some issues. As for NATO carrier and CSAT carrier is your invaders, your NATO carrier is your occupiers. That is the corridor or carrier or whatever that is going to come through for reinforcement. So let's say you are playing with total victory enabled and you've destroyed all of their air bases and military bases. Where their airborne QRF will come from is from these NATO carriers. Again, same thing as the sea attack spawns. You don't want to set these outside the map because they will not spawn in. What else on these specialty nodes? Oh, control nodes. If I can find, I put most of mine. So here's control nodes. They are essentially roadblocks. Now, Antistasi Ultimate will spawn in natural roadblocks all over the map. ambiently, so it'll be random. However, these nodes here are designated roadblocks that are guaranteed to spawn in for the occupants or invaders, however you have it set up, on these points. Now that's nice because I like to use them in the entranceways to military bases or air bases or whatever. Very important things that you would imagine that would actually have like roadblocks. As for detect player, this one there are correct ways of using it. I have never used it the correct way, but technically, if you have a situation where um, you want the player to be detected and loading things in, to my knowledge, if you have the original markers like airbase, military base inside of this zone, as well as a player that walks into it, those areas will be loaded. So let's say you have a spawn distance of 700 meters, right? So let's say if I expanded this to over here, and the players were to stand on the top of this mountain, these places would not be spawning in because it's outside their 700-meter radius of their parameter. However, this detect player marker detects that the player is inside of this, and then anything inside of this marker should load in. Now, it is that is technically unnecessary, especially with what I have here, where it is not needed. However, it is good if you are playing on a mountainous map. What else does this do? It also detects the player if they are in a civilian vehicle. So let's say they're in a civilian vehicle, they drive into this box, they're now considered on a military base. What else? Minefields. There is your control zone, which is your ellipse. Now I'm pretty sure it's supposed to work where the minefields actually spawn, but if by not being in a road. However, that didn't really work out for me for my last couple extenders. So what I'm doing here in placeholder is using the minefield module and setting up a large axis with a large number of mines with some other stuff, making sure that there are actual mines on the map, because there are minefields in Antistasi Ultimate if you've never played with them, or have never seen them at least. For air bases, I do recommend this point here. While the AI don't technically land on air bases, this square that marks that this is an airbase that can be landed on are important because on this specific map, there are find here airstrip markers like so that aren't actually airstrips. They are just textures painted onto the ground. Now this is cool. This is nice. Blah blah blah. You can do what you want with this. Technically, you can have an airbase there because the AI won't spawn on it. However, if you, the player, wants to auto land, it won't detect that and you can't land on that. As for your headquarters, this is probably some important information. You have all your guys. This is your box or your garage, arsenal, all the other stuff. However, this will spawn in with a tent somewhere around here. That tent is for sleeping in the Antistasi community version. However, sleeping in Antistasi Ultimate is done through the menu. So you can just straight up delete that tent and it shouldn't affect your code at all. As for all these modules, don't touch any of them. If you want to add more characters, you can just click and drag, copy, paste, and then make sure you group them to the commander, and then make sure you sync them to the commander module. And basically what this module does, I'm pretty sure this just detects how many of these slots are filled and then balances the amount of AI and skill level and whatnot to the amount of players loaded. So if you can kind of see here, I copied, and I think I did 4 extra or 5 extra squads or something here, so that if you wanted to, you could play on my extender map with, I think it's 50 players instead of just 32. And it should be scaling correctly with this module. What else? You can technically have vehicles already on the map. However, I do recommend setting them to dynamic simulation so that they're not loaded in all the time. And that you set them to unlocked so that if any, well, leave them on default. I'll be honest, leave them on default so that players can get in it and mess around with it. I like to have this as like a little Easter egg so that if anyone comes and plays my map, they can go in here, take this plane, and fly off into the distance and do whatever they want. It is a civilian plane, so they really can't do anything with it besides land or crash into something somewhere somehow if they want to. Continuing on. So that is everything that you can do with that module. But there's more. What else may you say? Let's think. There is military administrations. Let me restart that sentence. Military administrations require this police station building. This is the only one that works. Any other buildings will not work at all. You have to place this one down, and then you have to grab the position, which will show there. My best recommendation, in all honesty, is going to each of your towns, copying or finding this map already had police stations on it. See there? There's a police station. I hit it, put the police station with the Livonian police station on it, and then copied the grid position, and I'll tell you that later. I went to each of the towns. Because they are technically police stations and not just military administrations, I put them down on each of the towns. This is not a designated town. We'll show you how to remove that. But yeah, so there's a police station there. Here's a police station here. I'm using the what's already on the map, which works out because it's what's engaging. However, if we go to did I do it in Eden? No. Where did I do it? In here. So you can make your own little base around it. So I made a higher capacity police station, and this just, I guess, makes the players engaged. This is from a different composition, but it keeps the players engaged and thinking, oh, this is a higher capacity or higher importance military administration. We should take this one out. It's not actually, it's just how it works. And finally, banks. Now, bank missions, don't know if they spawn. I haven't seen them spawn in forever. However, I still recommend putting them in. Bank missions have to be this office building type. I'll give you the name of it. So this is the office building type. It has to be this one. The bank mission, I don't know if it's working in Antistasi Ultimate or if they've just straight up removed it. However, or the Antistasi community version, I don't know anything about the banks because I've only seen the mission type show up 2 times. However, I still like to put them down so that if anyone does happen in the future to play or manage to get the bank mission to spawn, they can actually play with the bank mission. So I set them only in the big cities, which makes sense because banks are normally reserved as like a what's the best way of like not a rich person thing, but like it makes sense. The banks would be in the business districts for the business areas. So if you have large cities like this map, you can put them in there. If your map doesn't have any large cities and only has small towns, just find some way that may fit it in real well into the general area. You could also add some other buildings around it and saying that air quotes, it's an actual city, but it's not really. And the sorts. So once you have all of those things down, we're going to save it. Make sure you save. I recommend saving periodically because not saving is like literally it's like the virus. It's the I can't think of the correct word, but you get what I mean. It's miserable when you go and create this whole thing and then you don't save and then your computer crashes or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so save the mission. What we're going to do is go into the mission file, which is what we named here earlier. Did I already do this? Hang on one second. Let me pause and make sure I did this with you. All right, like I said, apologies. This has been a while since I've made this video. I did actually cover this. So moving on. So you are in your Australia actual folder. We're going to the Australia, then we're going to add-ons, going to go to maps, and then we're going to go to Antistasi_Australia.Australia, or if it's Altus, rename these to Altus, or to the name of your map. You see this mission SQM? We're going to go back to Arma, going to open our saved mission in the scenario folder, and then we're going to grab this mission.sqm and Control-C or copy this and put it directly in here. Don't delete this, put it directly in here and then replace the file. That is our mission inside the game, or inside the mod. Now we're going to go to arguably the most important file, mapinfo.hpp. Open it up with Visual Studio Code. And once we're in here, yours might look a little bit different. However, you're going to make sure that the class name is the name of your mission. We can actually find that in the mission SQM folder by making sure that the .Australia is the actual mission, or is actually the terrain name. Put that in there, and then we can go in game by quickly grabbing a debug command. Let me grab the debug command, debug console commands for devs. So you're going to go to this website here. I'm going to scroll down. I'll leave this in the description to city data extraction. Copy this. We shall quickly go to the player. Oops, nods. Go to the player. Play the player. This is going to take a little bit depending on how big your mission file is. Like I said before, pretty sure mine's like a megabyte, which is really big for an Antistasi extender. However, this map is also big, and I have a ton of locations down. I have like 40 something locations down it, at least 40. Anyway, once we're in, we're going to delete whatever is in your execute thing. Press Control V, paste whatever you have in there, and then hit local execute. In this bar, this black bar underneath, you're going to hit Control C on this. Go to your notepad. Notepad. My other monitor. We can delete. Don't save. We can delete all of this. Don't save. Whatever. You're going to open up a new one. You're going to paste whatever's in here. Now we're going to basically look at this. So in quotation marks, city name, population. Skipping past, this is, I'm pretty sure, the location. This is the radius. Moving forward, city name, population, location. So what we're going to actually, the only things that we're going to need from here is the city name and the population. Grab all the cities that show up here and put them in here. So all the populations that you want to be using, like large cities or whatever, just grab directly out of your notepad from the first quotation to the end of the population. Copy that and put it in your mapinfo.hpp file. You can use however many you want, however many cities you want. I recommend a lot because that's kind of the gimmick. However, if you have some weird ones, like West Australia there, we go back in game and look at it. West Australia, it's not actually a city, it's just a mark on the map, West Australia, Northern Territory. You get the ideas. Those aren't actual towns, those are just markers. you can go here and disable them. So disabled towns are here, and enabled towns are here. Additionally, there may be an outpost or something. So I'm going to see if I can find it real quick. Pine Gap. I can't find it, but for example, there is a, let's just say for example, there is an outpost right on top of Horbar. Outpost right here, or whatever, wherever it is. Or, here's a better example. Sorry, that's a bad example. Army base, here it is. Army base is considered a town for some reason. We saw it earlier. But I've used it because it's a military base, and I put an outpost directly on top of this. Here's the issue. If you have a town, that town is going to play into the support part of Antistasi Ultimate, and it's an outpost. Those really don't work together. So what we're going to do here is we can go and put that in disabled towns. Antennas we'll do later. Banks, go it to all of your places in Eden Editor, copy their position, throw it in here. Sometimes it will have brackets like so. You just delete those brackets, put all the positions in here for the bank locations. As for military administrations, it's the exact same thing. Throw in all of the different positions where military administrations spawn. Fuel station types, I'll leave them as is, but pretty self-explanatory. There's a bunch of different fuel station types. That marks it on the map so that people need to get gas, they can go and get gas. Garrison, this is a bit strange. We're going to only use what's inside of the second and fourth parentheses, or curly brackets. First one and the third one we're going to ignore. Second one, you're going to put everything that the invaders will control on the start of the mission. So you're going to go and grab airport, military base, whatever you want the invaders to start with. You will set this to that. As for the fourth one, you're going to only put control markers, so roadblocks. But you're going to put in the second one air or whatever you want. So, you know, your factories, your resources, all of those things, and control points and roadblocks and minefields. But then in the fourth column or the fourth curly bracket, you're only going to put roadblocks. And the reason why you have those two things separate is because roadblocks can get destroyed and these things can't get destroyed. Like what I mean by is like these will get destroyed, they'll never come back after they're destroyed. These, they can, sure, the resources could get destroyed, but they'll come back or they get rebuilt. Anyway, buildable objects, you can set this to whatever your map is. If it's going to be arid, you can set this to arid or temperate or whatever you want to set this to. It's in the buildable objects HPP, which is there. This is from Surreal, so I'm not taking credit on this. Just go and grab it from Surreal. It's pretty simple. But yeah, we have populations done, military missions done, fuel stations, garrisons, banks. The only thing left is antennas. Real quick, let's do antennas. Grab get antenna location, which is just below the city data extraction. Copy that. Go to your game. Delete whatever is in the execute button. Hit paste. Local execute. It's the exact same thing as before. Go back to your notepad. You can delete whatever in there. Paste the new stuff. Here is all of your antenna locations. Technically, you can put all of these down if you really wanted to. However, I highly recommend going to these markers in Eden Editor. So you can double click on your camera. In fact, I'll show you. So I'm going to put this on my other monitor so that I can see it with ease. Go in the middle of nowhere with your camera. You can double click on it and you can set their marker positions. The reason why I want you guys doing this, or you don't have to, but it's just a highly recommend, is because whenever I paste in the X and the Y and hit OK, I have a radio antenna here But in the same list, this very next one, I guarantee you, is going to be this other radio tower right next to it. You see what I mean? How this map happened to have placed 1, 2, 3 radio towers all right next to each other, or 4 even over here, 4 radio towers, 5 and 6. The 6 radio towers all right next to each other. If I were to put all of these in, this one military base that we're on right now would have 6 radio towers. And you know how painful radio towers are, especially if you're playing with Acre or TFAR or any other radio mods that you may be using. It would be painful because it's actively jamming your communications. And sure, you can go and destroy one. We've done that before in Antistasi Hardcore. However, having 2 on a single base is just going to be annoying because, you know, now you have to destroy 2, and it takes a hell of a lot of ammunition to destroy one of them. Anyway, I'm going on another tangent. So go and put in all of the radio tower locations. As for the blacklist index, I don't really know what this means. I just put in a bunch of random numbers and leave it. That's my yeah, that's what I do. I don't think you're able to go over 100 though, or 3 characters on that blacklist index. Anyway, so we're done with your placing down assets, you're done with the map HPP file, you're done with the nav grid, you're actually closing in pretty close to getting your Antistasi actually done and working. So, first thing that we're going to do, we'll close out of this, and we're going to go back to the HPP, do a quick verification, making sure everything's alright. We're going to back out of this, go back to our map file. I can't remember if I've covered this already, so you're going to see this either twice or again, or blah, 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 whatever. Go in here, make sure that everything is named correctly, and go to your, go back here, mod CPP file, and set this to whatever you want. So you can click on this. So the name of the mod is A3U, or A3UE is the extender. Make sure you add this. You can put brackets, no brackets, however you want to format it correctly. And then the name of your map, yourself, the author, and then leave the GitHub there so that if anyone else wants to make an extender, they can click on this and see, oh, you can make extenders real easy, like this. Anyway, I digress. Continuing on, that is done. Now you can go back to this original file, build.ps1, open with Visual Studio Code. I've already run mine, but you can go up here and click on the run button. Basically what that will do is it will build this file. If for whatever reason you've already run your file, you're going to have to delete this file and go and build another one. However, any changes that you make inside of this folder here, anything at all, something as simple as you clicking the Control S and saving it, you're going to have to delete this old build file and build it again. Trust me, it's important. Once you're done building that, you can go back to the launcher and you can go to local mod, go to the actual mod on your desktop or wherever you have it, click build, click select folder, and if you're not crazy like me and I actually decided to remove that, like so, it'll load like that. There is your local mod ported into the workshop, or not the workshop, the launcher. Now, anytime that you rebuild this folder, you're going to have to go here and delete this from the list. Load a new local mod altogether. If for whatever reason you unload this mod from your current mod list, you will have to find it in your list of massive list of mods or whatever you have. Delete it from your list and load it again. It's irritating, but trust me, it'll save you a headache if you do that every single time. It's kind of required, honestly. It's not like I'm asking you to do that. You kind of have to do that. Anyway, so we're gonna wait for this to start up, and we can select it in game. So just like any other other Antistasi, host a server. In multiplayer, you can set LAN off. Doesn't matter. And then you're gonna want to go to the map name or the map mission selection screen and go to the map like so. Now mine is named Antistasi Liberation of Australia Extended Map Overview. We'll go back to that and change that, and we can change the picture. I'm just making sure that it's working. So we're gonna go in here, default commander. So far it looks like it's working, and that's good. It's good to have. So we'll load in. Those pictures are cosmetic. Honestly, those pictures should be your last priority. Unnamed mission. I just realized I forgot to give you guys the mission information. But this is good for testing reasons. So we're in. We're gonna create a new game, test, start game, yes. Now you'll notice it's starting the game. Markers are loading up. Look at all this information. Darwin, that we're gonna have to fix that. That's a bug. Boom. That's an immediate bug. Darwin is not supposed to have a town like that right on that military base. Or it might, I don't know. I don't remember. I know for a fact military base or army base in future has town still on it. Yeah, it does. See, army base, town still on it. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why a helicopter has literally spawned in immediately. That is slightly worrying. Anyway, boom. Here's your map. Look at how cool it is. There's now note there are some areas on your map, or at least mine, where you'll have a bunch of shit all right next to each other. Let's say you're attacking this seaport, this airbase might be loaded in, that resources might be loaded in. Now this is a big map, so that looks kind of close, but actually if you have it set to default 1,100 meters, that right there is your 1,100 meters at most for that resources. So that resources would be unloaded, even though it looks really close. And I'd assume you're attacking the seaport from the south here. Anyway, so we'll notice that it's working. Blah 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 blah. I'll do some really minor tests. So first up, really important test: respawn, kill yourself, do something. Now I don't know if I set respawns up, but let's just make sure I did. But it's taking a little bit, but yeah. So there's a respawn counter, and look at that, I respawned. Go and set up your respawn in your mission if you haven't already. I completely forgot to tell you that, and I'll show you how to do that after this bit. So, yes, before I show you mission spawn, I just want to, or mission information like that, I just want to go around here and look at, I don't even remember, whatever. I'm gonna be entirely honest. I started this tutorial and then it took me like 4 weeks to get this done, and I've forgotten everything that I've done previously, and I'm really tired, and I don't know what I'm doing. So, yeah. So that's my build. Let's go here. So one of the quick tests that I want you to do is just make sure that your AI are actually spawning in by doing this. So you can do that. If you have Zeus enhanced, go to modules, hide Zeus. What that'll do is it will disable my character and my model, so that we don't get shot at. Now we're testing, making sure that everything is looking good. They are spawning in correctly. They are walking around correctly. They have AA in placements. They have gun placements. Everything here looks fine. The flag spawned. Now note, the flag spawned. Where's the crate? Got to make sure the crate spawns in. Crate spawned in. Good. Now, this is another test that's kind of important. Make sure they can shoot you. I've done this before, where I've released an entire extender, not realizing that they can't shoot me, and I may have set them so that they can't shoot me. Let me give myself a gun real quick and start shooting them. They're calling for contact, but they're not actually. Shoot me. Alright, see? So they're running away from me. One of these HMGs really should have turned around and shot me immediately for whatever reason they didn't, which probably tells me that I forgot to set them away from friendly, so they are designated as friendly. So we're going to abort, go back, and make those changes. This does actually set an importance to actually mess around a little bit. You don't have to go and play it through an entire thing, but mess around a little bit, ensuring that your mission is set up correctly. So I'm going to actually show you real quick on all the things that you're going to have to do in this menu to make sure that it's working correctly. First up, General. Name the mission. Antistasi Ultimate Australia Extender. Leave the author to whoever you want. We're going to ignore all of these until we get to miscellaneous. Independence, allegiances. Set blue 4 to attack. Change whatever you want in here, but leave that disabled so that Zeus can open that. Fine. Don't click that. If you have that, don't click that. Don't click any of these. I think this is all good in here. So those are the two main things you're gonna want to do in there. Environment, you can change that to however you want. However, honestly, I like leaving it default. Multiplayer, we're going to set this as a Antistasi. Minimum amount of players is 1. Maximum amount of players is, oh god, does it tell me how many I've selected there? I don't know. Let me do some maths. Alright, I've done some maths. I think I have roughly 62 slots. So we're going to go back to multiplayer. Maximum players 62. Summary, we can leave blank, disable AI, enable respawn on custom position, like so. I don't know why I was able to respawn with the respawn disabled, but shush. Respawn on custom position. Respawn delay, you can set that to however much you want. Allow manual respawn if you want, I always do. All of this stuff we can ignore right here. Actually, don't even click anything else in there. Respawn mode, we're going to set to enabled for all players. Respawn trait, items, and all of the stuff in here, like in capacitation mode. Do not click any of those because all of those settings gets changed in Antistasi Ultimate. Dynamic groups and skill level, don't change those as well because Antistasi Ultimate will also change those. Click OK. Performance, if you want, you can change these. However, I'm probably not gonna change any of those either. Most of these are things you can kind of leave default. So we're good there. These are important. Now, I'm pretty sure that might be it, but we're gonna hit save, and we're going to open it up again. So this is our mission file, and over here is our gameplay file. We're going to delete this build folder. Oh, I see. I have to close the game. Yes, so if that happens, you're going to have to close the game entirely, like so. Go in here, remove it from your list, delete the build folder, go in here, go in here, go in here, go in here, copy this, paste it in there, replace. We can close this up, and actually, fuck it. While that's done, sure, we want to change that mission description, and that's not in here. It should be in here, right? Description.ext. It is not in here. It's not in there. Well, let me quickly save that because I did make a change there. So save this. Honestly, I'd cut this out, but we're gonna continue because this is part of my experience of not knowing what the fuck I'm doing. Fuck, where is it at? Well, anyway, here's your buildable objects: arid, temperate, Arctic, tropical. They just have all of these different assets that you can go and mess around with. Anyway, where is this? Is it script? Oh, it's probably stringable. It's probably stringable. Yeah, here it is. All right, so in the stringable.html, this is all of the information that is on the front page. Now, this we can delete because that's used for two different maps. Australia, Australia, Australia. So all of those, I think I already brought you through and changed. However, we're going to go through here. Antistasi, Antistasi Ultimate, Australia Extender. And you can just kind of throw this in here. Description. Invade Australia. Whatever you want. And then you can hit save, and then we can exit out of this. And then, so whatever your changes you want to do, we can go back to the build. Open with. I opened it with Notepad. Whoopsies. Open with Visual Studio Code. Wait for it to load in. You might have to click trust or whatever. Click run. And once it says that, it's loaded up, and there's a new thing. So you can local mod, select build folder, load it, play it, and go in. So just as before, we're going to load in to our multiplayer game. And we can see here, if I back out actually real quick, Antistasi Ultimate Australia Extender. The picture isn't changed, but you guys can do that in your own time, or you can come back to it. Default commander, load in. There it is up there on the screen. Antistasi Ultimate Australia Extender. Or whatever you want to put on there. You could put brain. You could put brain's words. Hello world. You could do that. You could put hello world on there. Don't know what that is. We're gonna ignore it and hope nothing happens. Everything loads in, and boom, loaded in. I still have to remove those towns, but that's a bug fix that I'll do on my end because it's unrelated to this tutorial. Again, we're gonna go to test, play, start, starting game. Wait for it to start real quick. And something as simple as what I showed you earlier, they weren't shooting at me. Let's do a very easy quick test on to prove that it's working correctly. Or our build is working. I don't know what that is, and I'm gonna ignore it. I don't know if the base is close enough for these to spawn in. Yeah, we'll see. Hello, people. You're gonna shoot at me, surely, right? Spawn in and shoot me. This is a military base, right? Military administration. There you go. There you go. So they've shot me. I'm gonna hit respawn. I'm pretty sure Antistasi Ultimate puts that respawn counter down at the bottom. So even if I think you remove the respawn delay, Antistasi Ultimate will still put one on. I don't really know how all that works, but there you go. You've respawned. Congratulations. Anyway, I hope that might be it. I really hope what I covered in the first one covers all of the extra stuff in the files. I don't remember, I'll be honest. But yes, so that's it. That's how you kind of get it in Antistasi Ultimate. I can try and answer some better questions in the comments, or answer some other stuff about how all this works. Alrighty. So at the end there, I went off on a tangent and started exploring my own map and getting ADHD brain, you know, that type of thing. Anyway, I'm going to quickly mention that I did not actually cover how to go from a playable state like it is there, and how to actually make sure that it is on Antistasi. Basically, you're going to want to take your build folder and put it in the add-on builder. I'm sorry, the publisher and the Arma 3 Tools publisher, and do the normal thing for uploading mods. That is a whole nother part of this that I'm not really willing to cover. I think you should just take a look at some videos online on how to upload mods to the Steam Workshop from Arma 3. Just note that that build folder is the mod ready to go into the publisher. What else? I did not cover anything about how to mess with pictures. Those are technically important, like the whiteboard, the icon, and the mission description, like the load screen pictures and whatnot. Those also were not really too important to cover. I'm sure that if you have made it to this point, you can figure those out by just, well, going to the pictures folder under Antistasi Australia, pictures, mission, and then you can go and change the pictures that you need in there. I hope this video helped and got the general idea across on the porting part of it. Have a great day, everyone, and goodbye.